Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of 6, the best-selling author, the G-Dad, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Stenziano, I'm doing good. How you doing, bro? Excited today. Really excited.
I'm always making it happen, big man. You know that. And today I'm excited about our show because we got the guest on, the guy. He created a product that people really love, and that's not easy. Gino, it's not easy, right? So, the Mark Zuckerberg of real estate social media. That's the guy we got today, okay? And he's the host of the #1 real estate podcast on iTunes and the founder of BiggerPockets.com. That's a nice little resume you got going there, Joshua Dorkin. Welcome to the show.
It's not bad. It's not bad. All around nice guy would be a good way to kind of make it really good, though.
Introduce
and
yourself.
Show the fist here, lover not a fighter. Let's see the Cinco de Mayo brawl. That's for the YouTubers.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. You know what? I was defending your honor, guys.
Someone said, "Man, Jake and Gino suck," and they're like, "F you, bro. I'm gonna get you, man." Right?
That's right. Yep.
So
let's dive into it because it's really weird. A guy who has a real estate platform but doesn't invest in real estate right now. So people are like, how did that happen? I want to hear the story from the very beginning when you created the product, the disruption. I love the disruptor factor on this. He's the mini Amazon of real estate. That's what I love. So give me the story, my friend.
From your mouth to the universe's ears, man. if I could be a fraction of what Amazon is, man, holy smokes, what a company. You know, the story is stories. I think it's interesting. I mean, you know, I was always into. I grew up in New York, and so in New York, you know, that mindset, the mentality, regardless of who you are, is grow up, go to Wall Street, make money, right? Even if your parents are like, you know, raising you well, which mine did. You know, that money mindset is still part of who you are. It's part of the indoctrination. You just can't escape it, right? Everything, everywhere, it just gets absorbed. So as a kid, I always wanted to make money. I always wanted to do well. And I found myself when I was in high school, I came across the Forbes richest people list. And I saw the magazine and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Let me check it out. I got it, started going through and I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. Started studying these guys and trying to understand who they were and what they were doing. And, you know, everybody says they all make all their money in real estate. That's not true. You know, the richest guys all probably have real estate as a part of their portfolio because it makes sense. But, you know, a lot of these guys are doing business, things like that. Anyway, that the whole business mindset of, hey, go out and strike out and do it was part of me from an early age. My parents were entrepreneurs. And so as we fast forward, I went to school. In college, I had a roommate. And senior year, we had just started talking about how do we buy property. We lived in this 6-unit apartment building. We're like, we got to buy this. This thing would be amazing. Let's get our hands on it. And we didn't know how to do it. We had no clue. We're like, well, we don't have any money. We can't just buy this building. But we knew in our heads, if we could buy the building, we'd be killing it. So I think that was the beginning, you know, just starting to think about it in business school, just all these ideas. Anyway, fast forward, after school, I did a bunch of stuff, ended up in Boston, New York, back to LA. In LA, I got a real estate license. I sold real estate for like 5 minutes, hated it. It was just not for me. I don't know. I might have hated it because I sucked. I might have hated it because I hated it. I actually tried doing it again like a year later, or 2 years later, and was like, why the hell did I try? Yeah, I mean, like, this is just... No, I'm
shaking my head. I'm sorry for the guys out there. I just sold the first piece of real estate. I sold my first house like a week or two ago.
Mazel tov. Congrats.
And it was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. It was like way too emotional. Residential real estate is just terrible. I can't stand it. And I never want to go through that again. So the new Southern Command, I'm locking this one down forever, and I'm never leaving. So that's it.
Nice.
So
nice.
And I'm following up also because I sold my house 3 months ago. So people from the city coming up to the suburbs, and it's like, lady, really? GFIs. I tell Jake this she's complaining about a GFI in the kitchen. I said to myself, you've got to be kidding me.
Sorry,
I mean, the emotions were off the top.
Yeah. Right now.
You guys do it. This is therapy. This is what we're here for.
Yeah.
You know?
So commercial is different, Josh. Commercial is
I know.
No view, income. Done, right?
Well, and that's interesting because when I had gotten my license, I started interviewing at the commercial spots. And I think it was greed that stopped me from doing it, because which is, counterintuitive, but here was the mindset as I look back. I figured I had a chance if I went into resi, I could probably sell a house pretty fast. It was, what was it, 2001, 2002, 2003-ish.
Yep.
The market was ridiculous. And selling a house is a lot easier and quicker than theoretically selling commercial property.
Mm-hmm.
So, to get to my first dollar, I knew that if I went residential, the odds were better. So anyway, I went residential, probably was a big mistake, but anyway, I did that. I got out. I ended up getting a substitute teaching credential because, I was in the entertainment business. I did all this random stuff. And with the sub teaching credential, this girl I'm dating, her family had a school. And one day in the summer, they're like, "Hey,
I thought you were trying to make money."
Listen, I was lost. I was lost. I was in my 20s. Like, what were you? Well, you look like you're 20, but you might.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? And so I got the sub teaching credential just to make it really was to make a couple bucks. Like one day substitute teaching in LA, you can make hundreds of dollars, really quick and easy. I was like, all right. I get a job. My first day, the guy I subbed for quits, and now I got a full-time teaching job. By the way, the girl that I was dating, her mom had started the school. She is my wife today. So I could not leave this job.
Tied
4
down.
years. 4 years.
Uh-huh.
4 years of teaching. And it was great, man. It really helped me build my character. It was a special ed school. So, I'm working with kids who have just they have real problems. I mean, serious issues. They, family life sucks, or they're born with disabilities, other stuff. And so, having the patience to kind of wade through that really helps you build your character. While I'm doing that, my brother gives me a call and says, "Hey, I bought a bunch of property. Check it out." Sends me pictures, sends me the numbers. I start looking at it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is ridiculous. Okay. I got to get in on this. I had some money saved up still. And so I flew to the Midwest, and we started looking at property, and I ended up buying a couple buildings. And everything was great. I'm a landlord. I own all these properties. I have 7 units, and life is good. I get it back on the plane, go back to California, and wait a second. A month later, first problem, second problem, third problem, and then it starts stacking up, one thing after the other. I bought, the biggest issue, I would say, in looking back, my biggest mistake was, it wasn't that I bought without knowing enough to buy. I think it was buying in an area that I didn't know enough about.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought in a low-income neighborhood because it was cheap. Well, inexpensive doesn't mean it's cheap, because, all of a sudden there's all the problems that come with inexpensive properties, right? You got, good tenants are hard to come by. There's crime, there's theft, there's, maintenance, there's evictions, there's all this drama. And I'm 2,000 miles away, and I'm relying on somebody else to do the work for me. And the people that the first management company I got on board did a terrible job. If I got another management company, they did a terrible job. Got another one, they started stealing. They were stealing from me and from other landlords that were had their properties managed underneath them. I mean, it was. If I could curse on your show, it was a shit show.
Yes,
it was a shit show. And so, anyway, I'm thousands of miles away. I need help. I don't know what to do. I go and I look around, and I never really found any other platforms that I felt like I could trust. I didn't like the information that was out there. I felt like it was somewhat tainted for various reasons. And now I'm stuck saying, well, what do I do? Well, back in college, I had started building websites for fun. And I was like, you know what? Let me build a platform so I can get some help for myself. Let me build a place where nobody's going to try and upsell me. Nobody's going to try and pitch me. I can go and I can just ask a question and get an answer
Talk about
without
that a little bit, though, because you were just about to say upsell, and then you finally did. And I think what you're referring to is a lot of the education that's out there is simply upsell after upsell.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of actionable content always, right? And I don't want to blanket the kind of education space, but I think that's an issue that many people have with it. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, I started BiggerPockets because the industry at the time and was dominated by, the gurus, right? I mean, that was pretty much it. And these guys were everywhere. They controlled everything, or at least the other platforms that existed at the time were, at least in my opinion, were in bed with them, right? And so I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't find information to help me that I felt like was disconnected from them. So in my opinion, it was very it was a very tight system, right? Everybody was in cahoots. Everybody was in bed with everyone else. And, I've got the site and so I felt like I would show up somewhere, get some information. It was probably going to be half-cocked information. And to get the real information, I was going to have to go buy something from somebody. And then I was going to have to pay some more money to get something else and pay some more to get something else, and until I'm broke. But now I finally have the information, maybe. I didn't like it. That was the genesis of BiggerPockets. I started the site because I wanted to go to a place that I felt like, first of all, I wanted the answers that I needed for myself. And then I wanted a place that people could go to where they didn't feel like they were going to have to take a shower every time they're on the site. So I started the site, man. I created this community. I'm teaching.
What are they cleaning themselves off from?
I don't know, the ick factor. Yeah, something, man.
I know the ick.
It's the oil, the snakes. I don't know.
So let me ask you, how do you just say you start BiggerPockets? Like, give us the framework of how, I see the genesis going from residential. You hated it. You get into commercial. It's really not that good. And, the internet's the great equalizer, because I love using your site, because you go on your site, you can type in, who's the guru? Do you like this guy? And you get 30 responses from people. So your site's actually vetting the gurus, which is amazing. I think that's the disrupting factor. You can't lie anymore on the internet. You're out there. Everyone sees that. So,
and that wasn't the intention, by the way.
It became Angie's list.
Well, dude, that's great. I mean, that's never the intention to do a lot of things, but that's like one of the huge benefits. So, I mean, how do you create it? I mean, as an entrepreneur, you saw.
I want to know that too. How to start? Let's talk about the beginning days when the company started. Did you have like a guy that was your partner, and then like you guys broke up and had a big legal battle? It wasn't Facebook. It wasn't Facebook. Okay, fine. All right.
No. I'm teaching, right? I mean, I'm spending my days dealing with kids and lunch break, nights, weekends. I'm sitting at home. I'm typing away and I'm creating code to build this. I got a forum. I opened up this forum and there was nobody there. It was me and an echo chamber. So we know
the feeling.
So I had to get people to come. I had to get people to show up. I started to put together some resources, some content to hopefully get people to show up. This was pre-internet marketing. This was pre-SEO.
What year is this?
This is, oh shoot, man.
04?
04 is correct. Yeah. So August 04. And those industries hadn't really been formulated yet. So everybody who's trying to do this stuff it's the Wild West. So first, I'm trying to get answers to my questions. So I got to try and get people to show up to the site to answer my questions. And then from there, that starts to happen. And little by little, I realize that other people are getting help for themselves as well. I'm like, oh, well, this is cool. You know what? Not only is this valuable to me, but this is actually valuable to other people. Let me keep going. So really, the next 2 years, I just hustled at it, hustled, try to get people to show up, try to create some kind of bond. And it was extremely, extremely difficult. I ultimately quit my job, went full time. I was making like $6 a year. on BiggerPockets. Thank God my wife was working in education and we could be completely poor, and she supported me. So we moved to Denver actually, and now I've got this platform where I'm just, I'm working day in and day out to try and get people to. Now, this wasn't a business at the time, right? It was a hobby. When I quit, now it's a lifestyle business. I created my own lifestyle business, which was awesome, but I had no life because I wasn't making any money, and I had no style because I wasn't making any money. Eventually, over the next bunch of years, working, hustling, the business started to do better, and suddenly my wife can quit. But I now had no lifestyle because I'm working 80 to 100 hours a week, and that's all I did. Now, to your opening about the guy who doesn't invest in real estate, well, when you're working 80 to 100 hours a week, there's no time for anything else. Like, there was no time for real estate. Sadly, there was no time for my family. I was there, but I wasn't there. I wasn't present. Mm-hmm. And I got to a point now where 8 years into BiggerPockets, by the way, 8 years in, I was doing pretty much 33 jobs. I had one guy writing code for me, and that was the company.
So it took 8 years before you really scaled, before you really started getting employees and things like that.
It took 8 years to hire my first employee.
Whoa, Jake.
You did have the I'm a mentality.
Uh-huh. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
I was bad.
Yeah. I was so stuck in the business, and it wasn't necessarily it wasn't I don't trust anybody. It was there were so many things happening that little by little, running a community, is a full-time job.
It's hard. Yes.
You got that, plus, you got sales and trying to sell advertising to make money. You got to produce content. You got to deal with moderation. You got to do all this stuff, run the business, deal with all the businesses. Like, you look up and 8 years have passed.
So what was the light bulb? When did the light bulb go off after that? What was a moment? You have to have a crystallized moment of when that happened.
I had a lot of moments. I had a lot of really like, holy crap, what am I doing with my life moments? Because from the outside, everybody's like, wow, BiggerPockets is killing it. Things are going really well. On the inside, I'm like, I hate myself. What am I doing? Like, this is horrible. This is really hard. I'm around my family, but I don't get to spend time with them. We travel to, but I'm never really there.
You're on the phone all the time. You're on the laptop all the time.
Constantly working. And I don't know. I think it was a couple conversations with family who kind of presented to me, hey, listen, you're like, oh, there's Josh again. Josh is never always working. Josh never really gets to enjoy the stuff. It was hearing that. And I think it was just getting tired. I went 7+ years. I did not take a single day off. And then, most people say, oh, I work all the time. I don't take a day off. Yeah, you work 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, and you don't take a day off. I worked 7 days a week. I worked when my kids were born. I worked Christmas. I worked New Year's. I worked Hanukkah. I work Thanksgiving. I work every single day. I work when I'm traveling. I work when my kids are sick in the hospital. And this, I'm not saying this to brag. I now when I talk about it as a cautionary tale. Like, it's really easy to get caught up in that. And it's terrible. Like, I do not want this on anybody. And so I get to this point that I'm just beyond burnt out. And I turn to my wife and I break down in tears and I just start crying. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I hate myself. I hate this life that I've created. I hate everything. I don't know. I think I'm done.
Let me ask a personal question though, Josh. Was it the fact that you weren't monetizing enough, or was it just the fact that you couldn't let go of the control? Because your story is like mine. I was in the restaurant business. I didn't work every day, but I worked on Christmas. What sucks working the holidays? I worked every freaking holiday. Yeah. Then we start opening Easter. I'm like, my brother, dude, it's Sunday. Can I have at least the Lord's Day? It just got to be the point where I said to myself, I've got to get out. That motivation was going away from the pain. So your motivation is going away from pain. So what was that point? Was it the fact that you weren't monetizing enough, you couldn't pay, or you just were stuck in your old paradigm and your old ways of thinking?
I think it was a bit of both. I think I definitively was stuck in my mind. That was the biggest thing. We were monetizing, we were making money. I wasn't making enough to in my mind pay anybody. And so there was fear, like, hey, I can't afford to hire. And so, fear plus this mindset just kind of screws you, right?
That's where so many people get stuck, though, in businesses in general. They hit that kind of point where they really need to hire, but they're too afraid to, and then they don't realize it'll explode the business for them if they do, and then they get stuck in this, and they're chasing their tail, and they fizzle out, they burn out.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And I was there, and I very well could have been that guy that burnt out. What I decided to do was double down on solving the problem. So instead of just saying, oh, I quit, I hate this, or saying, hey, I'm going to sell the business, or I'm going to just go for another year or two and struggle and scrap by, I said, I'm clearly stuck. I need an outsider to come and help me out. So I went and I hired an outsider. I hired a consultant to work with me and look at everything. Look at
coaching.
Me. Yeah, yes. Look at me. Look at what I was doing.
You want to give some props or no? You want to
look at the business? No, we keep it on the DL. But yeah,
Secret Life,
look
Skulls Academy. I get it. It's cool.
Yeah, it's all good. It's not. It's anybody would know.
But Josh, let me ask you: this whole time, did you at least love what you were doing? Did you love the company? I love
the company. I love the company.
Okay. So that's what kept you going too, though. At least
that is exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, what's interesting, I love the company. That kept me going. The thing that really, really kept me going was the users. So I would, on the days where I'm like, oh, this sucks. I hate this. I hate this. I get an email, random email, or somebody would post something on the site. Hey, BiggerPockets changed my life. Like, this platform is unbelievable. This thing changed my life, and I would sit there and I'm like, oh, as miserable and sad as I am right now about I can't be sad. I mean, look at what I'm doing. This is fantastic. I'm going to keep going. Anyway, so I'm working with this guy. We look at the business, we tear it apart. We realize the site's a little bloated. Josh is doing 73 jobs. I mean, like, something's got to change. We came up with a plan. The plan was to hire that first employee and do a bunch of other stuff. And so I did. And the first employee was somebody who was writing for me. And you guys may know him, Brandon Turner. So I hire Brandon, pay him terribly. He's already a BiggerPockets success story by this point. He's ecstatic to come and work for me. And all of a sudden, 80 to 100 hours a week. Now I'm working, 80 60. To 95.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good luck. And 80 to 95 hours a week. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing. This is fantastic. And, over the course of the next, bunch of years, we start to hire other people. We start to scale. We're generating more. And it's not, we weren't the revenue issue wasn't because the business didn't have the capacity to make money. It was because there was no bandwidth. I did 72 jobs. I didn't do any of them well. I mean, I did as well as one could, but you do what you can to kind of get by. And Gino.
The factor of letting go of that control, though, too, right? Even though you're not doing it great, I have struggled with that in the beginning personally, but
I definitely had it in the very beginning. I realized very, very quickly that I trusted him, and I was like, at this point, what's the worst that could happen? Like, dude, take this over. Like, please get this off my plate. Yeah. And it was cathartic, right? And little by little, as you realize and recognize that you can actually find somebody that you can trust to do the work, then you're like, oh shoot, how do I get more people doing all the other work? And little by little. And I mean, we're still doing that today. I mean, we're what are we, 26, 27 people in our Denver office now. And there's
awesome.
still,
I had no idea you guys had that many employees. That's great.
Oh yeah. There's still lots of work to be done. I mean, there's, I'm sure a lot of us are doubling down still. And there you go.
What else have you done to expand the brand? I mean, like, I see that you're hiring more people, but I mean, what other ideas as an entrepreneur did you come up with and say, hey, we need to do this, we need to implement this system? What else have you done?
I mean,
of course,
I would say our business, I think, has really done well because we haven't been afraid to try stuff. So anytime being creative, testing, throwing something against the wall and seeing if it stuck, whether it was the podcast, like, hey, let's try a podcast. Why not? Okay. So we tried it and I thought I'd have, 6 listeners and that was, my family and me and Brandon. And
then they never listen to you, right? The family never
no, they don't ever listen. Why don't they listen?
Mom, why?
Mom! What's funny is I think in the last couple months, my mom just started listening to the show. And now once a week, she'll call me. She's like, oh, it's so nice. It's like being in the room with you. I get to hear this wonderful conversation. Oh, you're so good. I'm so proud of you. Like, really? Come on.
It took you that long.
12 years.
Gino, does your mom ever listen? Is your mom ever
My mom, dude, she's the only person on the planet without an email address. So to let on a computer, bro. She's an old Italian lady.
I'm making a call after this. I gotta see.
Bro, she's the smartest chick I know, and she just does not want to deal with the technology. And that's one of the things about entrepreneurs. Could be entrepreneurial, but she does not want to take that risk of trying something new. And I've seen 2 things that BiggerPockets has done that I can tell you right off the bat why I know you're successful, and tell me if I'm wrong. You give to get. You give a ton of crap and give more and give more and give more, right? And I think the second part of that is that I don't want to call it a sellout, but you're not out there trying to affiliate market with anybody else and trying to pitch other people's products just to make money. You're really out there to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And I think people really appreciate that and really like that. And I think just keep giving, keep giving, keep giving. At some point, you're going to have to monetize that. But then people, by a 5th or 6th or 7th touch, they feel comfortable with you. Then they're willing to open up their wallet and give it to you. And then you're not even really asking for the sale at that time. You're not even a salesman anymore because you've given them so much advice and so much free stuff that they're like, I like this guy. I want to do this with this guy.
Well, and that's, I believe that to be true. I think that's all based upon the founding, which is like, hey, I want a place that I can go and feel like I'm not going to get dirty by those people. I wanted to open up the information to the world. I felt like, everybody's got their secrets. Hey, here's the secret to this. Here's the secret to that. And I was like, that's bullshit. There's no secret. I mean, you're just repackaging something that everybody else is doing with some name, and now you're upselling people on it. Like, that's ridiculous. There's no such thing as a secret. Like, there hasn't been a new strategy or tactic invented in real estate in, a very long time. It's just, people are packaging and selling different things. I mean, these hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of people are doing what you just quote invented, and they've been doing it forever. Yeah, they just don't talk about it. And so for me, the idea was like, how can we open that up? How can we democratize the information? And it started, I mean, look, it took a very, very, very long time to get this community to this point. And the whole thing was, we're going to make a community where we give. And you know what? Maybe at some point we'll make some money off it. And as I like to say to people, I'm like, I've drastically undermonetized BiggerPockets. Even to this day, we dramatically undermonetize the platform. That's, yes, it's a for-profit business, but to be frank, I'd rather put our users first, deliver value, and build a brand that they know that they can trust. And we'll figure out how we're going to continue to monetize them. We'll figure out other ways to deliver even more value and keep going. I mean, you talked about Amazon in the beginning. Amazon does it. Amazon does a very, very similar thing. And so for me, I'll take a loss leaders. I'll do different things that, don't make us money in order to create something where our users know that we're there for them. We've got their back. We're creating this platform that, is not there to kind of sell them out. And that's it.
When was the, I guess the light bulb went off and you said, I really got something here. This is really, I mean, we're really onto something. When was that time in the process?
Yeah. When did it become real to you?
I don't think it's real now.
Still, that's awesome.
I don't think it's real.
As far as saying, wow, I can really make money doing this. I can support my family. I can help a ton of people out. And this is what I want to really keep doing.
I mean, it's been that way for a long time. I mean, I think the helping people out, that happened very, very early. The doing, by the time I'd say 2 years after I'd say year 4, we were doing well enough that my wife didn't have to work, but we weren't getting rich or anything. We were just kind of getting by, right? Mm-hmm. And I was working ridiculous hours. I think that's also why a lot of that resentment came by year 8, because I was working ridiculous hours. We were just getting by. And I'm like, well, why am I doing this?
Why? Man? Come on.
Never, man. Never. I don't think so.
Me neither.
So that's not me. That's not me. I'm a family guy, man. I'd rather like go out and take everybody to, I don't know, Nepal or something than spend money on that. But it's been an interesting journey. And to your earlier question, I think just a lot of testing, a lot of trying stuff out. I can't say the damn word. Systematization. Somebody say it. How do you say it?
Systemization.
Systemization.
Are we talking about the same thing?
Yeah, I think we are. Systemizing. I know I could say that word. Well, so systemizing is fascinating. Like once that light bulb goes off, like, hey,
I'm addicted.
I could create a formula for how to make this easy, and what used to take us 23 hours to do this, I could do in 2 hours now. It's a formula and it's repeatable, and you can train somebody to do it. I mean, it's amazing, and new entrepreneurs don't think about it. And that's why we harp on it with BP. And that's why, the smart guys are all talking about it, but I never heard it.
I couldn't even explain what it was in the beginning. Like, what do you mean? What's a system? Like, it didn't click. It took like 3 years before it clicked, and I get it.
That's why you got to read Michael Gerber. I mean, E-Myth, if you're at that point in your life when you're ready, he talks about people doing, and the technician. Jake and I were technicians like you were in the beginning. We're doing everything. And when you get to that point where, wow, you just get out of technician and you just go onto the other side, and, instead of working on it, you're working, in it, you're working on it. It makes a huge difference. I was the slowest
bookkeeper that you ever met, man. I was awful. It took.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't call it bookkeeping, bro. I would not keep it.
Well, that trigger is really interesting because, you could say it 1,000 times to somebody. Gino, when you were running the restaurant, if I came up to you and I'm like, Gino, you're slaving away, man. You're so in the business. You'd be like, okay, what the hell are you talking about?
That's why I got up. I couldn't scale it because my dad had me set since I was 7 years old that you got to be in the kitchen. You got to be cooking yourself. I'm like, really, Dad? And it was just ingrained in me. And it's still part of my limiting belief in that business. Whereas now I have 700 apartment units. I'm not even day-to-day operations with the thing. And how does that happen? It's just, I guess, as your journey progresses, you start opening, and hopefully you don't have those limiting beliefs, and you work with the life coach and you work on those that's an energy block. I was more than a limiting belief for me because it was really ingrained in me. It was more of an interpretation and an assumption because I assumed it my entire life. And then all of a sudden, I meet this guy and we crush it, How have you kept up with technology? I mean, how do you, as far as looking at technology and looking into the future, what are you looking for in technology?
How do I keep up, or what am I looking for?
No, how do you keep up with it? I mean, there's just every constant
tech guys, man. Just throw something out.
It's hard. Blah, blah, blah. It's so I'm fascinated by it. Is I think how I keep up. I'd say over the last year or two, I've actually pawned off some of the keeping up to other folks at the company, and so I'm kind of less. I'm not as in on it, but. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like reading about technology. I like studying technology. I study, I was never, anybody who knows me in the business world knows me as the guy who I'm not hitting all the conferences. I'm not out and about. I usually have my head down, working away, reading, studying, looking at other platforms. I'm not studying other real estate sites. I'm studying what's Amazon doing. Like, these guys are creating a revolutionary platform. What are they doing, and how can I, adopt policies? How can I adopt different methodologies that they're doing? How can I apply that towards what I'm doing? So I think it's a fascination with tech. It's a fascination with business, looking at other companies, looking at other businesses. I don't like looking in the vertical. I don't like looking in the real estate space at all, to be frank. Because I always fear that if I start looking at what other people are doing, I'm going to start copying them. And I don't ever want to copy anyone. I always want to, want to come up with my own ideas. I want to be original, and
so like on real estate education platforms or something like that, you try to shy away from that so you don't end up. Yeah, is that what you're saying? Is that fair?
I'm like, I don't look at, I don't like, I'm on Zillow, playing with Zillow when I'm looking for a property maybe, or Trulia, but I'm not like, oh, how do they do this, or how does, XYZ Corp that has XYZ product. I mean, I'm out saying like, hey, what is Zappos doing? Like Zappos is killing it with this
awesome
delivery thing. So like, what is it about Zappos that people love? Why is Southwest Airlines so beloved? Why are they the airline that's been profitable year after year, while everybody else is losing their shirt? Why is Amazon
an internal mastermind going here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out like, and I couldn't even put to words that like, I can't like go and write down necessarily what's happening, but like I can take it and then, start looking at our platform, and suddenly I'm like, oh, here's an idea. And if I look back, I'll be like, oh, you know what? I took something that I saw here, I adopted it by doing this, this, and this, and then suddenly, it makes sense for us. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Just kind of studying what's out there, learning, and I think a fascination by technologies are really what would have driven me, and I think driven us as well.
So you need to stay engaged with your company, because if you're not passionate about it, whatever you're talking about right now is not going to happen. So the fact that you're passionate about what you're doing is the key to all this. Because if you don't like it, forget it. You're done. Correct?
I would say so, and something that it's funny. Like if you had me 3 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, that stuff is all flim flam bullshit. But now, core values and kind of working on company culture is fascinating. As you start to kind of scale the business, it's something that is so important. I think when it's a couple people, when it's small, like, ideally you have a good people and you'll like,
right?
Yeah, you don't think about, but like as you start to grow, you really have to focus on that stuff. And we've put a great amount of effort into focusing on having a great culture, similar to the culture within the community itself. I wanted a company that had a fantastic culture because, I get up every day and I spend time with my family. Then I go off to the second family. Like if I'm here at the second family, I better like them. I better enjoy going to work. And so many people don't think about that. I think the big companies do, but especially smaller growing concerns rarely think about culture and creating a strong, sturdy culture. And I think it's one of the most important things in scaling a business is having a culture of whatever makes sense for you guys, whatever makes sense for your business. But I'm really proud of what we've created in terms of that at BiggerPockets.
It's so important, and I came from a culture. I was in this vaccine industry, and it was great when I got in.
The vaccine industry?
Vaccines, like
vaccine. Vaccine.
Yeah, like
he was a legal drug addict. He was a legal drug pusher.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And
nice.
And it was awesome for the first year, and then all these regulations started coming out, and the culture became so like bureaucratic, and you had to follow this and follow that, and it was like an HR nightmare, and I just started hating it. So when we started our own thing, I was like, we're not doing any of that, and all this kind of corporate stuff that you're talking about that comes through scaling and building the culture. I rejected it hard for the first 2 years. But it was because it was the wrong type of culture, and it wasn't empowering to the employees, and it didn't help us grow. So I rejected it, and it bit us a little bit. And then I started really diving into the book Traction, and I was like, wow, this stuff is important, and you really have to do it. And it is real. It's not just some BS that you're throwing at the wall because we have to do it, right?
Right.
And I think when you hit like the 10 employee mark and start going up, I think that's when it kind of clicked for us. So I could really just, relate to what you're saying. I thought that was good.
Yeah, thank you.
Josh, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now, your company?
Oh, man. Well, so, our goal is to help make more successful real estate investors. I mean, that's what we're trying to accomplish. And we're trying to help people build wealth through real estate, and we're trying to help them to be successful. So 5 years doing the same thing, but on a larger scale. How can we reach more people? How can we get better information? How can we improve what it is that you're doing? So you guys are building, you guys are doing apartments. How do we serve you? What can we offer to you guys that you can't get elsewhere, or that you can get elsewhere, but we can do a better job of doing? How can we service you? How can we provide you with content, with information, with tools that are going to help you to be successful, whether you're getting started or whether you're scaling up and you've done this and done hundreds of millions in real estate,
Josh.
Residential, same thing. I mean, what's your answer?
So one of the niche that we've found that we've been really successful in helping people is scaling. And, the guys that own the onesies and twosies, like the 3 or 4 apartments, maybe 10, but they're chasing their tail like you were, like I was. So I think that one of the things that's been working really well for us in helping people grow is helping them scale out their businesses with systems and things like that. I just based on our conversation, I think that adding a component to BiggerPockets like that helps that onesie and twosie guy, the guy that maybe owned 5 units or something, work on systems. I think that could really benefit the users, because that's where I think so many people hit a wall. That's where we hit a wall, and we're just rapping right now. We're freestyling, but I think that.
But Jake's talking about he's talking about building a business structure, hiring a bookkeeper. Who do you need? Team members and all that.
Things that propel a business, and you've been through it. I've been through it. I think that's something that could help the small business community tremendously. So, anyways,
it is. I will say, without going into any details, we're working on it.
Oh shit, man! Oh shit, baby.
Heard it here first, right, bro?
We're working on it. I mean, yeah. So look, as we've done a really great job of content. We've done a really great job of fostering a great community. As you kind of think it through, what's next, right? I mean, you want people need tools to help themselves, get those deals done and scale. And so, that's what we're looking at. That's what we're working on. I've been thinking about it for 11 and a half years. So, having the bandwidth, having the capacity to start to really dive down that corridor is exciting and is going to be fun as we start to do it.
Jake, Josh, what's your best business building tip or advice for the listeners?
Okay. I would say it's got to be focus on the business, get out of and it's not necessarily get out of the day-to-day. I would say it's more recognize that you're in the day-to-day and take time every week, figure out how to do it. Take time every week to think about the business, think about where you're going, what you're trying to do. Because, you said you got stuck, right? You got stuck. I keep picking on you in the restaurants, but like,
okay.
Hey, I got stuck. I was in the kitchen. I'm doing all this stuff. And my goal might have been to open up one restaurant and run it successfully and live off of that one restaurant. Like that's great. That's admirable. If you could start a business, start a restaurant, run a profitable restaurant to help your family, more power to you. I think that's awesome. No, but you need to know that, right? Versus, in your head, maybe you were fighting with, hey, listen, I want to have a chain. I want to have 20 pizzerias. I want to have 35 restaurants. You can't do that if you're in the kitchen every day. You could be in the kitchen working and just focusing on the do if you're not really trying to grow it. But if you're trying to grow it, you got to step out. You got to be thinking about, where's the end? How do I get to the end? What do I need to do to get there? And far too many people don't see that. So to anyone listening, I would just say you got to recognize before whether it's real estate and you're thinking about how many units you're going to have or restaurants, whatever it is that you're looking to do, like you need to know, and that it could change over time, by the way. Hey, review it every 6 months, every quarter. Hey, where am I going? Where do I want to do? But, at some point every week, you need to be thinking about where you're going.
I got to give everybody a tip here, because what was holding me back in that situation was my partner with my brother. I had the vision of the restaurant having a physical space and then creating a company called Gino's Family. I've got 6 kids. I was organic gardening. I was doing videos in the garden, bringing food up to the kitchen, cooking with them. I did a cookbook. I was selling physical products. I was going, right? But my partner didn't see the vision. So I said, dude, I mean, I couldn't get out of the kitchen doing this work. So thing is, you have to be on like-minded. So if you're going to fix and flip houses, find a partner who's going to fix and flip. If you're doing multis, like Jake and I, we're on the same wavelength. You got to do what you say and say what you do. And unfortunately, that's why that one spot, it just didn't work for me. So I think partnerships are amazing. They're fantastic, but please be on the same wavelength as your partner. Make sure that you're trying to accomplish the same goals. And unfortunately, my brother at the time wasn't. Now he's trying to do what I was doing. It's a little too late. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, dude, you know, he wasn't ready for it. So.
Yeah, I've never had a partner, so I don't necessarily know what that's like, but I've talked to enough people over the years, and yeah, what you said is definitely true. I've seen too many good ideas die because of bad partnerships.
I love partnerships because, you know, you're having a rough day, you get on the phone with your partner who's, you know, and then it holds you accountable because, you know, basically I'm feeding his family, he's feeding my family. So we don't really take days off. When you're doing it by yourself, sometimes you can take that day off and say, hey, you know what, I'll slack off. But I don't have that luxury because I know that, you know, I'm holding myself accountable to him and he's doing the same thing to me. So, you know, there's another benefit to it.
You better recognize. You just
raise the roof.
So going to the personal, we've been talking a lot about just Gen Biz stuff, but what about you specifically? What is your best habit for success that you do every day that separates you? Because it's not easy to grow a business, and you know, it's not being cliche or whatever. It's hard work, and you did it on your own. So hats off to you. But what is your best habit that you do on a daily basis that separates you from, you know, the guy that, you know, is W-2 or hits the wall and doesn't, you know, get over the hump?
I don't know that it's a habit. I think it's a personality disorder. It's hyperfocus. I mean, you know, if
I don't necessarily know what that looks like or means.
What you focus on expands. He's focusing on one thing and he's just crushing it.
He reads the book The Secret every day.
No, I've never even read it. I look at like, oh boy. So I think a lot of people are sorry, I'm having a hard time here because I'm thinking about 17 things in my head, which is fascinating for a guy who's thinking about 17 things actually focusing on one. But that's the trouble that I have now in my brain. But like once I get to work, that's why I got stuck in the business, is because like I'm in and I'm focused and I'm doing. So focus to me is not letting the shiny objects distract me. It's, you know, there's always something new, always something flashy. Now I'm going to study that stuff and say, okay, this is cool. Like, let's talk about technology. This is a cool technology. I could go and like, you know, I'm going to try and adopt this and build something like this, but I'm going to play the long game. So for me, I'm focused. I know where I'm going. I know what I want this business to look like. And so I do everything to get it there. I don't let what other people are doing, what people are saying, what technologies are coming out distract me. I don't let bright, shiny objects distract me. I just work. I just do it. I come up with a plan and I start going for it. And that's it. And nothing's going to get in my way. And I've had people, many people over the years say, what are you doing? You're crazy. This business is a lifestyle business. It's nothing more. Important VCs have said that to me. Like, so fuel for the fire, focus. I got this. I know where I'm going. I know what this thing can be. I'm going to get there and I'm not going to let anyone get in my way.
So you see it through.
I see it all through, man.
No, but that's a big piece to it, though, right?
I mean,
you're going through it every day, but you actually see it through. So when the new cool technology comes out, it's, well, I'm doing this, I'll know about it, but I'm following through with what I set, and I'm not gonna get too distracted by that. I think that's cool.
But that's
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's important because I think if you ask most people what they want, they'll tell you what they don't want. They focus on what they don't want. So whatever you focus on is what you get.
Yeah.
You know, if you focus on financial freedom, which most people don't focus on that every day. And then answers will start coming to you. If you have enough big reason why, the how will come. But people don't focus on financial freedom every freaking day. Focus on when you get up in the morning and figure it out. It might not be real estate. Maybe it'd be building a business. Maybe it'll be becoming a lawyer, do whatever it is. But focus on the financial freedom and focus on whatever. So, well, you know what I'm saying. It's just, people think W-2s is like the end all be all, but there are some really lucrative W-2s. You can get financial freedom anywhere. You make that money, repurpose it. The whole idea is, he's so right, Jake. It's about focusing and using that that mental ability to like pick something you want and go for it.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake you made at BiggerPockets?
Ooh, hiring Brandon Turner. No, I'm just kidding.
Who's this Brandon Turner guy you talk about?
No. Man,
You love you some Brandon, don't you?
I love that guy.
Other than working 80, 90 hours a week, what was the biggest mistake? That's probably a huge mistake, right?
That was definitely a mistake. It was not seeing the forest for the trees, somewhat unavoidable. I didn't have anyone in my life to kind of tell me otherwise. So, that was what it was. I would say the biggest mistake I made with BiggerPockets, man, it's got to be not recognizing sooner that I was stuck in the business. And again, how do you do that if you don't know otherwise? It's listening to this. It's talking to other business owners. It's
Tell
being
people out there what it looks like, because you're doing such a service to people. Because I didn't recognize it, Gino didn't recognize it until it got like so painful. You didn't recognize it. How do people recognize that? Because if you can say to the guys out there that are going to listen to this show, this is when you got to scale, or you got to make a move, you got to work on the business. What does that inflection point look like? Tough question, man.
It is a hard question. It'd be easy to give examples of people. You're a landlord. You've got residential landlord. You've got a bunch of properties, and you are the guy who is cutting the lawn. You're the guy who's fixing the toilet. You're the guy who's answering the complaints from your tenants. You're the guy who's going to court on evictions. You're the guy who's painting the walls. I mean, you're doing everything, right? I think that's probably the marker. You're doing everything, and you feel like you're spinning your wheels. Like, hey, I'm constantly working. I'm working my ass off.
I'm doing everything. I should be making more money, but I'm not, and I'm doing everything.
Right.
What the hell gives?
Yeah, you're just working and working and working, but you're not making any progress. And so I think that's a good sign of being stuck. And so step back. Like, what is the everything that you are doing? Oh, well, you're doing this. Well, you could hire a virtual assistant in the Philippines to take that off your load. Hey, you're painting and you're doing this. You know what? If I wasn't painting, mowing the lawn, fixing the roof, I could be spending my time looking for other opportunities and deals. Wow. Okay. It's all these wow moments that you have, but you don't realize. So I do think it's just stopping and saying, you know what? I'm busting my chops. I'm working my backside off, but I'm not getting anywhere.
I was just going to say real quick, no, the inflection point, I think, is when you need to hire a coach. I think when you need a business coach or life coach, I think people are afraid to spend money. But if you can speak one-on-one with someone in a safe environment, tell them what's going on, and try to get some direction, some guidance, I think that's when you need to spend the money. I think that's when the quote-unquote light bulb goes off and you're like, I need help. How do I do it? Go seek out somebody who's done it before. Go seek out a mentor or somebody, and don't be afraid to pay them. And you're going to get your money back hundredfold. That's all I have to.
Both of you guys have done it. But the other thing I wanted to point out to what you're saying is that don't have the limiting belief that I can't buy affordable help, because there's a specialist out there that does just apartment lawn care, for example, because we were talking about apartments. There's a guy that just paints apartments. And that's what so many people don't realize is that, oh my God, I got a quote from a residential painter. He quoted me $1,000 to paint my apartment. Guys, there's people out there that paint apartments for $450, and that's all they do, and they do volume, and they crank them out. So there's specialists for each one of these little things that you're doing, so you got to find those people, and that's when you start building a team, and that's when you start scaling. So don't have the limited belief that I can't afford it, right? Because you can't afford to work 100 hours a week and grind yourself into the ground, and you're putting yourself out like a cigarette butt. That's what you can't afford. I
would say start with the one thing that you hate doing. Like, start with that one thing that you do every day or every week that you're like, God, I hate this. I mean, this is just the worst part of my job. Great. Find somebody who'll do it. There's people out there who like doing accounting. What? There's people.
Way quicker too.
Yeah. I mean, like,
and they do it right.
Here's a miracle, right? I mean, like, it's this light bulb that a lot of us, you don't see is like, there's people who like doing this stuff, or maybe they don't like doing, but they're really good at it. And that's kind of, they're willing to do it for money. Great. Well, here you go. I mean, that was like your prom date, wasn't it, Jake?
Dude, everything was like my prom date, man. Whatever that means.
Somebody willing to do it for money? I mean,
dude, it was like $100, man. It's expensive. So we talked a lot about scaling, a lot of just Gen Biz stuff. What's your favorite book or a good book to recommend to the listeners?
I just finished Okay, so I've got 3 books that are in my head on this. I hope it's okay. Focus. So
bring it on.
I've focus. Yeah.
Yes.
What? Ooh, squirrel. I just finished listening to the Audible for The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And if you're going to listen to any book on Audible, that is the book that you want to listen to. Well, there's a lot of F-bombs. It's just really, it's fun. It's entertaining. And it's more about like, we all get so hooked up and we create these paradigms in our head of how things should be and what it's supposed to be like. And you stop and you get angry about things and frustrated about things. But if you kind of change your mental model of what things are, and you stop and you look at things from a different angle, it's easy to not get as angry and pissed off about stuff. So I love that book. Gino is
putting too much stock into certain things when they need to look at it rationally. Right?
Is Gino pulling that out?
That book.
No, I said change the way you see
Gino
everything.
doesn't buy books with swear words. I was going to say there's
no. Change the way you see everything. Everything you'll see that you look at something completely different 5 years from now. You'll be like, how the hell was I looking at that 5 years ago? So I mean, just look at the way you see something, and the way you see something will change in your mind drastically. Yeah,
and the other 2 are pretty similar, but Essentialism and The One Thing, both about just focus.
He loves that One Thing book, and I still haven't read it yet.
You should
read
it.
You gotta get it, dude. What are you waiting for?
Book.
He's a monster, that guy.
Yeah, Jay and Gary Keller.
Yeah, Gary Keller. He's a monster.
Yep.
What was the other one? Essentialism.
Essentialism.
What's that about?
Yeah. It's just I think both of them are about focus. They're about taking what it is that you're trying to do and dissecting it down to its core, and then working on, those things that you have to do to kind of move the needle. Instead of, if you're, what we talked about before, if you're trying to build an apartment portfolio, if you're spending time painting the apartments, or because you don't want to spend $1,000, you're not spending your time looking for the most important thing for you is to buy that next apartment building, finding and locating that next property in your portfolio. Find the people to do the day-to-day maintenance. Find the people to do the day-to-day stuff, and you get out there and you focus your time on whatever it is you need to do next in order to accomplish that and buy that next apartment building. So it's not painting, unless your most important thing is turning over the building, right? It's like, hey, I got to turn this building around.
Important, thing, because you got to scale that management of that out.
You can't, but you do have to start somewhere, and I think that's the difference.
If you start out painting because you seriously can't afford it, that's one thing.
Right.
But at some point,
correct,
that's got to change.
Yeah.
But that's going to help you with the coach, though. So if you have a coach, you'll at least be able to talk about that. I have to do it now, but let's set a plan a year from now, 3 years from now. Set goals for yourself. Because if you're doing, you don't have that ability to put that down on paper and create that plan for yourself. That's why you need to really set that and think about it with the exit in mind. You always have to think about your exit strategy in mind in business or in real estate or any occupation you're in.
Yeah. And in The One Thing, I think the best illustration in that book is they talk about a stack of dominoes. So essentially you have you start with like a regular sized domino, and a regular sized domino can knock down a wall. You just move up, right? So little regular sized domino knocks down a domino that's just 20% bigger than it, knocks down the domino 20% bigger than it, and so on and so forth. And you keep going. It may take you 20, 30 dominoes to knock down the brick wall, but you got enough dominoes to get you there, right? And so if you take an objective and you break it down to its core, and what does that first domino look like? You knock that domino out, then you just keep knocking those next bigger dominoes out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Coach's sheet, Gino. Coach's sheet. So what project are you excited about right now?
talking to you guys.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Feeling the love, huh?
What do you
This
want?
is not a project. This is like tea time right now.
Have you ever spoken to you? This is a project.
Oh, deserved that one.
We're working on something that should be coming out in the next month or two on the site. We're basically dissecting our content, taking everything that exists on the platform, and we're using a little bit of AI, using a little bit of
whatever that means.
Some really cool technologies. Basically, we're using technology to help us get smarter at putting out better content and making sure that those people who people get the content that they're looking for when they're looking for it. So it's exciting. Obviously, I'm being vague about it, but in the next month or two, it'll be out there for everybody to see, and it's going to be tight.
Well, let us know. We'd love to plug it on our show. We'd love to plug it because, I think it's something that I think investors need to get out there. And if they're going to start with that content, there's no better place to start than BiggerPockets. So we need to know about it. Okay.
Thank you.
So bottom line is, good things coming from BiggerPockets. We got some cool stuff coming down the pipe.
We got a lot of cool stuff. That's just like a little nugget. Iceberg. Oh yeah, we got some cool plans.
That's great.
So we usually ask people how listeners can get a hold of them, but I don't know if that's necessarily you or you wanted to call Brandon, right?
No, I mean bigger. Obviously you want to reach out. To me, I think the best way to reach out to me is Twitter. I like Twitter. I typically will interact with people I don't know there. Like Facebook, I don't really connect unless I know somebody. LinkedIn, I don't really connect unless I know somebody. Obviously, I'm on BiggerPockets. But our platform's a great place to obviously sync up with anybody in the industry. But if you want to just shoot the breeze or connect about business or anything, Twitter's typically a good place.
And Jake, let me give a plug for all those guys out there that are thinking about spending money and becoming a pro member. Just do it, bite the bullet, spend the money, and it's worth the investment because it's just a great platform and it's a great place to network with other brokers. If you're looking at a specific market, you can talk to other professionals. You're looking for a CPA, you get recommendations. The content is fantastic, so pony up and pay for the service. It's really worth it.
Get that money, man.
Look at you.
You got to pay for the prom, right, Jake? You got
Cheat day. It's $100, man. The prom was $100. How much is BiggerPockets?
Your prom was $100?
No, for the date you told me. Come on, man.
I have to remind you how much you paid for your date.
Dude.
Come on.
The guys are beating me up today. It's good. I like it. Hey, Josh, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Awesome show. Really enjoyed it. And, best of luck with the stuff coming down the pipeline there. And I hope you guys knock it out.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Really, really, I do appreciate it. Thanks so much.
See you.
Thanks.